Imagine an aging destroyer, weathered by decades of service, but reborn for a mission few could have foreseen, one that would make her the heart of a raid, etched into history. This is the story of HMS Campbeltown. Our tale begins in the early years of World War II. The United States, not yet a belligerent, was extending a lifeline to Britain through the Lend-Lease Act, offering warships to support the beleaguered Royal Navy. Among these was the USS Buchanan, a Wicks-class destroyer from the First World War. In September 1940, she was officially transferred to the United Kingdom and rechristened HMS Campbeltown, named after a Scottish town famous for its whiskey. The transfer was more than a change of flag, it was the beginning of an extraordinary transformation. As HMS Campbeltown, she began life under British command as a convoy escort. Her hull, designed for the high seas, now fought the North Atlantic's notorious storms and hunted the silent U-boats that prowled convoy routes. Despite the wear of age, she was launched in 1918 and had known more than 2 decades of peace and war. She performed capably, proving that even old warships could still serve. But fate had something more daring in store. As the Royal Navy scoured for a way to strike at the heart of German naval power, the massive dry dock at St. Nazaire on France's Atlantic coast stood out. It was the only facility capable of servicing the largest German battleships. If that dock could be destroyed, the German Navy's ability to menace Allied shipping would be drastically diminished. And so, a plan was born. It would require a vessel both expendable and deceptive, a vessel that could get close, ram the dock gates, and explode from within. By late 1941, the British had chosen their target, the Normandie dry dock at St. Nazaire. It was the only Atlantic coast dock large enough to take the giant Tirpitz. Destroy it, and the German battleship threat to Allied shipping would be crippled. The plan, code-named Operation Chariot, was bold to the point of madness. A ship would ram the dock gates, loaded with hidden explosives, while commandos stormed ashore to wreck surrounding installations. The chosen vessel had to be expendable, fast enough to make the run, and capable of carrying troops. The old HMS Campbeltown fit the bill. Once the USS Buchanan, she had served in the First World War and now was to face her final mission. In January 1942, she was stripped down, her profile altered to resemble a German destroyer. 2 funnels were removed, the others cut down, and the forward guns repositioned. Then came the paint, Mountbatten pink, a shade that seemed absurd but had proven effective in low light, especially at dawn or dusk. From a distance, and under the right light, she could pass for a German ship long enough to get close. Inside her bow, engineers placed 4.5 tons of hidden explosives, sealed in steel containers, fitted with delayed action fuses. The hope was to give the raiding force enough time to escape before the blast. By March 1942, the ship and her crew were ready. The plan called for a night approach up the Loire River, with Campbeltown leading a small flotilla of motor launches and gunboats carrying over 600 commandos and sailors. Their orders: strike fast, destroy everything, and get out before the Germans could react. In the early hours of the 28th of March, 1942, HMS Campbeltown slipped out under cover of darkness, leading a flotilla of motor launches, gunboats, and torpedo boats. They were small, agile, and essential for operations where larger ships couldn't maneuver close to shore. Over 600 men were aboard, commandos, Royal Navy sailors, and demolition experts, all bound for one of the most dangerous missions of the war. The approach up the River Loire was tense and silent. Campbeltown's disguise was critical, her altered funnels, reduced superstructure, and Mountbatten pink paint gave her the faint outline of a German destroyer. For a time, the ruse worked. German patrols challenged the flotilla for the password, but the raiders had prepared for this. Using a password captured from a German trawler days earlier, they sailed past unnoticed. As dawn neared, tension mounted. Searchlights swept the riverbanks, and the first German fire opened on the leading boats. Campbeltown pressed on, her engines roaring, leading the commandos toward the Normandy dry dock, the ultimate target. Each man on board knew the odds, heavy defenses, a fortified port, and little chance of retreat if things went wrong. The flotilla had one hope: speed, surprise, and audacity. The mission's success depended entirely on reaching the dock gates with enough momentum for the ship to ram home the explosives, while commandos stormed ashore to sabotage pumps, fuel tanks, and machinery. Soon, the first shots rang out, and the calm of the river gave way to chaos. Campbeltown was now on a collision course with history itself. Campbeltown's crew pulled down the Kriegsmarine flag and raised the white ensign, signaling the start of the assault. Her guns roared back as the destroyer surged ahead. Moments later, with engines screaming, she smashed into the massive outer caisson at full speed, her bow crumpling, but wedging firmly into the gate. At the same time, the motor launches and motor torpedo boats carrying the rest of the raiding force struggled to follow. German fire was intense, sinking or damaging several small craft. Some commandos leapt ashore immediately, planting explosives on pumping stations, fuel depots, and dock machinery. The fighting was brutal and chaotic, but the raiders moved with purpose, knowing there was no second chance. When Campbeltown smashed into the dock gates at full speed, she became a deadly time bomb. Hidden within her bow were 4.5 tons of explosives, set to detonate after the raiders had withdrawn. The sheer audacity of the attack stunned the Germans. By now, the raid was in full swing. Fires erupted along the dock, small arms fire rang out in every direction, and the chaos gave the commandos their window to achieve their mission, or die trying. With Campbeltown lodged against the dock gates, the raiders on shore fought fiercely to destroy pumps, fuel tanks, and machinery. The port was in flames, alarms blared, and German defenders scrambled to respond. Despite their training, the commandos faced heavy fire and mounting casualties. The plan called for a swift extraction by motor launches and motor torpedo boats, but the river was now a gauntlet. Many small craft were sunk or disabled, leaving raiders stranded under relentless German fire. Out of 611 men who began the raid, only 227 managed to escape by sea. 169 were killed, and 215 captured. Amid the chaos, the Germans began inspecting the beached Campbeltown, unaware of the hidden explosives within her bow. The ship, now seemingly grounded and harmless, was a deadly trap. The raiders who survived the shore fighting could only watch from a distance, hoping their mission had inflicted maximum damage. By noon, the tension reached its peak. Every man involved knew that the real power of the raid was about to be revealed, not through guns or grenades, but through engineering, timing, and sheer daring. At noon on the 28th of March, 1942, the hidden explosives within HMS Campbeltown detonated. The blast was catastrophic, sending shockwaves through the dockyard and destroying the Normandie dry dock gates. Hundreds of German sailors and soldiers were killed instantly, and the massive structure was rendered unusable for the rest of the war. Earlier delays in the fuses had nearly thwarted the timing. The explosives were originally set to go off at 4:30, but seawater had interfered, causing a delay that meant the Germans were inspecting the ship when the detonation finally occurred. Among those nearby was Lieutenant Commander Sam Beatty, who had been questioned by a German intelligence officer. The officer had smugly remarked how quickly the dock could be repaired, only for the ground to erupt beneath them. Beatty later reflected, "We're not quite as foolish as you might think." The destruction didn't end there. Hours later, delayed action torpedoes, fired into the old dock entrance, exploded, causing additional damage and chaos. By the end of the day, St. Nazaire had been struck a devastating blow, achieving the mission's primary objective, denying the Germans a critical repair facility for their largest warships. The Campbeltown had fulfilled her purpose, but at an enormous human cost. The St. Nazaire raid, though costly, was a resounding strategic success. The destruction of the Normandy dry dock meant that the Tirpitz, Scharnhorst, and Gneisenau could no longer use the Atlantic coast for repairs. The Germans were forced to keep their largest ships largely confined to northern waters, reducing the threat to Allied convoys and shipping lanes. The human cost was high. Of the 611 men who took part, 169 died and 215 were captured, many enduring harsh conditions as prisoners of war. But the raid became a symbol of daring, ingenuity, and audacity, the embodiment of British commando spirit. HMS Campbeltown, a ship already decades old, had sacrificed herself to deliver a decisive blow to the Kriegsmarine. Her name would forever be linked to one of the boldest raids of World War II. Within British military circles, the operation was celebrated as the greatest raid of all. The impact of the raid resonated far beyond the Loire. HMS Campbeltown's story did not end with her explosion, it lived on in the courage of the men who sailed with her and the daring of the raid itself. Operation Chariot became a benchmark for commando raids, small forces striking deep, with precision and audacity, leaving an impact far beyond their numbers. The raid proved that even an aging destroyer could alter the course of the war when combined with careful planning, innovation, and sheer bravery. For decades, Campbeltown's sacrifice was remembered in naval history, in medals awarded to survivors, and in the enduring story of Operation Chariot. The Normandie dry dock remained unusable until 1949, long after the war ended, symbolizing the lasting effect of one bold plan executed with precision. HMS Campbeltown became a legend, not just as a ship, but as a symbol of courage, ingenuity, and the extraordinary lengths taken to secure victory. Her name, forever etched in history, reminds us that sometimes, it is not the largest ships or armies, but the boldest ideas and the bravest souls, that change the course of war. From the gun decks to the bridge, every story we tell honors those who served. If this tale made you feel the salt and steel of history, give it a like, and if you're not yet part of our channel's Convoy, subscribe and join the ranks. More powerful stories await.